Hey everyone, it's another deck profile. Pretty simple, pretty short video, if I can make it one. It's mostly because this is Rosinante. This is the green-blue one that's coming out in OPO5. Because I have the sim, I'm actually able to play stuff from OPO5 already. So let's just get right into it. So this is the Rosinante green-blue deck. The leader is the first leader in all of One Piece to have blocker. So you can pretty much block any attack with this leader as long as he's active. And at the end of your turn, he also can reactivate himself if I have 6 or less cards in hand. So you can also be able to attack with him and block with him in the same turn. On your turn, you attack. As long as you have 6 cards at the end of your turn, you restand him. So on your opponent's turn, you have a blocker. So pretty simple. It's a 4 life leader. Of course, most dual color leaders are 4 or less life. First card is going to be Viola. Viola is pretty much just the standard 2K. I hardly ever play her. But her ability is not bad. It's pretty mediocre. When your opponent attacks, if you pay 2, your opponent has to rest 1 Dawn. Pretty simple ability, but you're mostly using her for the 2K counter. So, yeah. Next up is obviously going to be Sugar. Sugar is a very utility-based card for any deck she's in. She works really well with this deck. If you don't know, pretty much when you play her, you get to rest one of your opponent's 4 or less, and every time on your opponent's turn, once per turn, you get to rest the character they have if they play a card. So yeah, if they already have a card out, right, you play her, rest the 4 or less, attack the 4 or less. Pretty simple. And then on their turn, say they have a card out already and they summon something, you just rest the card that they're able to attack with. So it's pretty simple, pretty simple. It's really good in this deck though because you have to rest her on your opponent's turn in order to rest an opponent's card. So like when you rest her, it's okay because your leader has blocker, so you can protect your Sugar with your leader. So not bad. Sugar is a main staple for this deck. Next up is Diamante. Diamante is another blocker. It's a 6K. And his Dawn ×1 is at the end of your turn. If you have 2 or more active Dawn, you can set this character back as active. You just need to have a Dawn on him. So you have a 7K swing, and if you have 2 Dawn active on at the end of your turn, you also get a blocker on your opponent's turn. So it's not bad. He's pretty much just a leader. But as a character, and you have to have a Dawn attached to him. So not bad. He's also really good for Doflamingo too, because in order to restand him, he needs 2 active Dawn, and Doflamingo lets you restand 2 Dawn at the end of your turn. So he's really good for both of the brothers. So that's why I run him in Rosinante. He's just another blocker that I could use to protect my utility cards, and he's also a card that I could attack and block with. Next up is Treble, another card that could also work at Doflamingo. It's another card that works well with the brothers, but I run him in Rosinante because, in my opinion, he's better Drake. He costs 6, and he's a 6K. And he can KO one of my opponent's rested characters with a cost 5 or less, instead of like Drake, where you have to KO a 4 or less that's rested. So it's just Drake with better attack, and he also has another ability on when your opponent attacks. If you pay 2, you can rest one of your opponent's characters 4 or less, so you can rest one of their blockers or something. Again, that's why he's also good in Doflamingo, because at the end of your turn with Doflamingo, you restand 2, and you can use those 2 for Treble's ability. But I use him in Rosinante because he's a good removal, because he KOs a 5 or less. Next up is the 10-drop Doflamingo card, the 10-drop 10K, where you choose 3 cards on your opponent's side of the field, and they stay frozen. They can't be reactivated on your opponent's restand phase. So, yeah, not bad, right? If you get 3 of these out, then that's pretty good, because you have 3 10Ks out, and they just keep your opponent's board frozen. So you can even rest their leader, so it's not bad. You can rest like their 2 main attackers and their leader if you wanted to, and they stay frozen until their next turn. So not bad. I run 4 of him. Next up is Baby 5. This is the 2K Baby 5, and you're never playing her. You're never playing this card. This is just a 2K card through and through. This is just a 2K card you could search off of the other Baby 5 I have in this deck. So if you ever have her, she's mostly used for the 2K. That's it. You could summon her if you wanted to, right? Because at the end of your turn, you can trash the character and set up to 2 your Dawn is active, which would be good for like Treble or Diamante. But like, I've never really needed to summon her to do that. I mostly just use her for the 2K. Next up is going to be the 2-drop 1K Rosinante. It's another blocker. Pretty much this card is really good for your utility cards or cards that are just rested in general, because while yes, he is a blocker, if on your opponent's turn, if one of your other rested characters would be KO'd, you may instead trash this character. So Pretty much, say someone really wants to KO your 10 drop Doflamingo with an ability or an effect, or they're trying to KO it because he's rested now, because most likely 99% of the time you're attacking with this 10k Doflamingo. So like, it's gonna be rested and they're gonna target it because it's like, dang, that's a big body I really want gone. So just kidding, if he's out and they try to get rid of him because he's rested, you could just use the ability to protect it. So this is really good, right? Because also if somebody were to like get rid of your stuff with like black, because black is KO stuff depending on the cost, you could just get rid of this guy instead with the ability, and then your 10k is protected. It's a double blocker if you think about it. It's a blocker for attacks, and it's a blocker for abilities, so it's not bad. I mostly use them to protect like my sugars, because like if you have 4 Dawn, him and your sugars coming out just to protect her, because again you need to rest her in order to rest one of your opponent's characters. So she will be rested for this guy's ability to kick off. So yeah. Next up is Baby 5. This is the Searcher Baby 5. She's just Jewelry Bonnie, but for Doflamingo Pirates. That's pretty much it. You pay 1 to play her, and then you pay 1 to use her ability, and then you look for a Doflamingo Pirate. Which, every card in this deck is Doflamingo Pirate, besides the 2 event cards at the very end over here. So with her ability, you can grab any character you want from your deck. So yeah, she's just Jewelry Bonnie for Doflamingo Pirates. Next up is Virgo. This is the 7k vanilla card. And I put him in here because instead of Pika, right? Pika's okay. It's a card you can restand, but Pika's a card you can't really counter with, and Pika doesn't really have that much attack power, I should say. With Virgo, you have a 5-drop 7k attacker if you summon him. If you don't have Diamante out, or you don't have a treble to play to KO something, then Virgo's a nice card to play just to have a body on the field. And again, it's another Doflamingo Pirate you can grab off of Baby 5. It's just, he's kind of just there. He's an all-around card for this deck, because you could summon him for a body, you could counter with him. He's a card you could get off of Baby 5. It's just all around. You don't have to summon him if you have him. You could save him for counter, yada yada yada, so on. He's just here because he fits the deck, and it's kind of just okay to have him in here. In my opinion, I think he's better to have in here than Pika. So yeah. Next up is the 3-drop Doflamingo blocker, another blocker. The reason you have a lot of blockers in this deck is because you're protecting your utility cards like your Baby 5 and your sugars. So you're gonna have a lot of ways to protect your utility cards in order to get all the way up to your big boys, your 7 drops and 10 drops and all that. So you're protecting yourself a lot. So that's why this guy's in here. Everybody knows what this guy is. He's a 3-drop blocker that lets you look up to the top 5 and return them in any order, top or bottom. So yeah, it's just another good way to also guarantee your next draw, because you can look up to the top 5 and return them back to the top or bottom in any order. So yeah, and it's just another blocker, and you can counter with him, so it's not bad, not bad. Next up is the 7-drop 7k Doflamingo that comes from the starter deck. Now I run 2 of him because most of the time you're returning stuff with 3000 worlds, or you're KOing stuff that's rested with treble. In my experience anyway. You could run 2 9-drop Mihawks, right? That's pretty much the only thing you can switch this out with. The whole reason I run this guy is because if I really need something back, and like something returned on my opponent's board, for cheaper I can play him instead, and I can also search for him off of Baby 5. So think of it as like a Mihawk you can search off of a character. You can search off a Mihawk with this character right here. The thing is, the only difference is that Mihawk returned stuff to the bottom of the deck, while Doflamingo's to return something to your opponent's hand. Which, if you think about it, isn't that bad, because they have to spend the Dawn again in order to play that said card again. So it's not bad. You could switch this out for 2 Mihawks if you wanted to. I just personally want to run 2 7-drop Doflamingos. It's really interchangeable. If you really wanted to run the Mihawks, you can. But I run the 2 7-drop Doflamingos. It's a little cheaper because say you're at Dawn 9, you play him to return something, and you already have a Baby 5 on the field. Sure, play a Baby 5 ability, look for something else, or play a Sugar because you have 2 Dawn left to rest something, attack something, yada yada yada, so on and so on. So yeah, that's why I run Doflamingo. I'm trying to use the Dawn more aggressively in utility standpoints and attack set and like attacking. If I could speak, I could explain it better. But yeah, Because he's 7, you have a little bit extra down to work with in the offense category. Next up is 3000 Worlds. Everybody knows what 3000 Worlds does. I'm not going to explain it. I run this because it's blue, removal, pretty simple. And same thing with Gum Gum Red Rock. If you don't know what Gum Gum Red Rock is, it's one of Blue's best event cards ever. You just place a character at the bottom of your opponent's deck. Trigger's pretty good too. So, yeah, I run these two because these are the 2 removals event cards that I have in the deck, and these are the only cards you can't search off of from Baby 5. So, yeah, the Gum Gum Red Rock really helps in this deck because if your opponent has a big body on the board that you don't want, just Red Rock it. If they have a 5-drop on the board, like, say, Magellan, or something with purple, or something red that's 5-drop, you don't want it, just use 3000 Worlds. And then if you want something gone that's 7 or less, just Doflamingo it. It's pretty simple. So yeah, this is the Resonante deck. I've had a lot of fun playing this deck. It's in my opinion, it is kind of toxic with these 10-drop Doflamingos and then all the removal you have to your opponent's board. Like sometimes in some games that I play, my opponent just doesn't have a board because of all the removal I have. And not to mention all the utility I have to make them get removed by like attacking, because Sugar rests stuff, so you could just attack the rested cards. And because I have like a lot of big bodies like Virgo and Diamante and Treble for 5 and 6 drops, like they don't have a board because you're just attacking all their stuff because Sugar's resting them, or you're returning them with all your blue stuff. Not to mention all the blockers you have in this deck. So yeah, this was the Resonante Green Blue deck. I hope this somewhat helps for when this deck comes out IRL, and I can't wait to build it personally. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you whenever I make another one.